My name is Deanne Gregory Stewart. The other members of our transportation team are Lauren Aiken, who resides in Clay County, and Erin Buchanan, a resident of Hernando County. We are pleased to welcome all our guests. In particular, I'd like to mention Mr. David Darm, who is the Executive Director of the Florida Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged, who I believe he may still be here with us, but if not, we will send him a copy of our presentation.
Deanne, not to
Um,
interrupt you, just real quick, I am here till one.
you're still,
I was able to move it, so but I will follow up with you still. Um,
okay.
so thank you for including us in this discussion.
Okay, thank you for being here. Um, we sincerely appreciate your presence, Mr. Durham, and we're hoping that by sharing our problems that we have identified, that you will be able to take these issues to our policymakers and decision makers in Tallahassee. The concerns and shortcomings that we have identified are particularly seen in the rural parts of our great state of Florida. Also, we'd like to pass on recommendations that we are suggesting to alleviate some of these issues. My team and I would like to focus attention on the challenges that tens of thousands of Floridians must tackle every day in the quest for independence and inclusion. Let's be honest, there is very little that is appealing about having to rely on public transportation. In fact, most of us take it for granted. But this is a challenge I know about firsthand that dates back decades. My adult twin sons, who both have cerebral palsy, relied on public transportation during their high school years and part of college. As a working single mother, I used to go out of my mind because almost daily I would spend hours on the phone while at work, making sure my boys were picked up on time and got home safely. It was exhausting. Transportation is a connector that affects all aspects of our lives. We depend on transportation to go to school, to go to work, for healthcare, for recreation, and everything in between. Transportation challenges can alter the trajectory of a person's life, limiting their possibilities in countless ways. With the advent of on demand transportation, most people can get around with a couple taps on a cell phone. However, for those with disabilities, that sense of independence remains elusive. Often for those in rural communities, particularly those with developmental and intellectual disabilities, getting from point A to point B can be an insurmountable challenge. Our team member Lauren lives in Clay County, which as of 2019 had an overall population of 219,252. Lauren uses a wheelchair and loves living in Clay County, surrounded by her family, friends, and the supports that she needs. However, because of inadequate transportation, she may have to move to another county to receive badly needed therapy. That's why, for a group project, my co presenters, Lauren, Erin, and I, decided to tackle this issue. We propose Project ART, Accessible, Reliable Transportation, a paratransit pilot program to be implemented in Clay County, with the hope that by rectifying this issue in one community, it could be replicated in similar communities statewide. In fact, thinking big, this Florida project could end up as a model for rural communities throughout the nation. Here is my colleague Erin to explain further.
Here are a few statistics about transportation. 25.5 million Americans age 5 and older self-reported having travel limiting disabilities. 13.4 million are aged 18 to 64, and 11.2 million are aged 65 and older. 3.6 million Americans with travel limiting disabilities do not leave their homes. Regardless of age, people with disabilities make fewer trips per day on average than people without. 7 out of 10 of these respondents with disabilities reduce their day-to-day travels because of their disabilities. People age 18 to 64 with disabilities report using a range of strategies to compensate. These strategies include asking others for rides or just limiting their rides to the daytime using special transportation services. I would like now to introduce my colleague, Lauren Aiken, as she will share a personal story of how transportation affects her daily life.
My name is Lauren Aiken, and I reside in Clay County. My personal story is that I did personal training to help my physical disability, and because of the lack of transportation, I am considering moving to a neighboring county because my personal trainer recently moved to the beaches, and without this training, it recently decreased my independence. So I'm hoping we can get Project Art to come into Clay County so I can utilize its service. And I would like to thank Commissioner Wayne Bullough for attending today.
Imagine a world without reliable transportation. How would you get to work or school or your doctor's appointments? What about self-care? This is the hard truth that a large number of disabled people endure on a daily basis. Think of the story that Lauren just shared with you. Lauren's entire day is based on the ability to rely on public transportation. When one bus doesn't arrive, Lauren's entire plans for the day are now done. This is why we are asking you to sponsor a bill, ART, Accessible Reliable Transportation. In the Americans with Disability Act of 1990, Title II prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in public transportation, such as buses, trains, subways, etc. There is current legislation and programs for the elderly and veterans using budgeted funds, but little for our disabled community. We are asking to begin a pilot program in Clay County to ensure reliable transportation to those with disabilities. Now, imagine a world where everyone had accessible, reliable transportation. Lauren could independently get to her doctor's appointments and to her job. When she felt like going to the beach, she could. She could do this without having to worry about if a bus was coming or not. If she wanted to go grocery shopping or to a movie. These are the most basic of human rights that are hindered by transportation issues. Think of the future children, the future scientists, and the future researchers that maybe don't get to school because the bus never came. The missed therapies, the missed healthcare, the missed life. We are proposing that Project ART be in effect by January of 2023.
As we listen to Lauren's story, we wonder how many dreams are shattered because of the lack of transportation. Sadly, Lauren's story is not unique, but imagine having to upend your life because of something as basic as transportation, but so fundamental to our lives and our independence. No doubt there are people in other counties in Florida and even throughout the nation with similar hardships. We are desperately reaching out to the Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged to propose Project ART, this life-altering pilot program, to our policymakers in Tallahassee. Thank you for your attention and support, and welcome any questions or concerns.